I'm joined once again by ENCA's political editor, Vuyo Mvoko, in the newsroom. Now, Vuyo, you sat through both those briefings, so there's plenty to talk about. Let's focus on the second briefing now. And interestingly, that, of course, was the briefing with the Defence Minister, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, and our Police Minister, Bheki Cele. And the interesting thing there, of course, is that if you live in a hotspot area, such as many of the major metros are, you can expect more roadblocks, you can expect a big focus on trying to control the virus in those areas.
They are not letting up. They are determined to ensure that you and I, Sally, do indeed, live by the rules that are governing the period that we are in. More members of the South African National Defence Force are going to be deployed, and the police are going to continue to do their jobs even more so than has been the case before. That certainly is the assurance we got from both ministers, Minister Bheki Cele of the police and the minister responsible for defence. And of course, in addition to the people who will be patrolling, in other words, the members of the South African National Defence Force will be patrolling, assisting the police and other departments. They will also be professionals who are assisting in other areas that don't have to do with simply patrolling alongside the police. They will be helping in the health services, engineering, and other areas, which is really a good move. However, this, of course, briefing was coming on the back of that Collins case, a report coming out exonerating the department of the South African National Defence Force members on the back of that scathing judgment by a court of law over a week ago. But and questions, of course, were put to the Minister of Defence, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, whether he thinks this is the end of the case and is happy with the outcome, which some people have actually called a cover-up. I don't know what else to call it. Certainly on the basic facts that we have been confronted with. And just take a listen to what the minister had to say when she was asked about the outcome of that internal inquiry of the National Defence Force.
We were actually taken by surprise last night when we heard from the news that the report is in the hands of the media. Firstly, because all processes have not been exhausted in dealing with that issue. You have various entities within the South African National Defence Force who are collaborating in conducting the investigation related to this matter. So any suggestion that in fact the soldiers, if any soldiers or police or whoever were implicated in the murder of the gentleman, it's a matter which I do not want to comment on, precisely because it is a matter which is still under investigation, and in terms of the court, in fact, it is a sub judice matter. The fact that the court last week or 2 weeks ago made a ruling on suspending those who are supposedly implicated, but also issuing directives by both the police and the South African National Defence Force on how the law enforcement agencies should deal with people in the course of conducting their work. That has been done. It is a correct decision. But anything else which relates to whether this is a murder case or not is a matter which I would rather not comment on until such time all investigations have been concluded.
And of course, just a reminder of what we know about what happened to Collins Khoza, that he was allegedly caught drinking in his yard, accused of breaking liquor lockdown laws, assaulted, and then died at his home a few hours later. Do you find what the Minister said there a satisfactory explanation that really there is a court case coming, a murder court case, that is where this whole issue will be ventilated?
I just thought it was a very insensitive answer to a very valid question, and more so if you consider how it was even asked. I didn't see the need for the minister to adopt that kind of approach. As for it being, the matter being sub judice, it is not sub judice. We're talking here about a report of the South African National Defence Force, over which she has a political oversight and control. Now, there's nothing sub judice about that. I thought she could have been a lot more sensitive and should have shown a great deal of empathy, especially for the deceased, which she has said was the case before. But I think at this particular point in time, where something coming out of her department actually exonerates the soldiers and comes up with rather flimsy excuses about both what actually happened and what could have been behind it all. It does look, certainly on the face of it, like a cover-up, and she should have and could have handled it a lot better than she did there, especially after what the minister said only last week, that considering their history as, people who fought for the struggle of South Africans, considering the history of their organization, the African National Congress, how it fought for the sort of things that they are being accused of never to ever to happen again. I think she should have handled it a lot more responsibly, but she didn't.
It does beg the question, how can a report, an SANDF report, exonerate them when we haven't actually had a murder trial yet?
Indeed. And it begs the question, going forward, as they are going to increase the numbers of people who are on the ground, and as they claim that they will be looking after the interests of South Africans and the management of this pandemic, whether their focus will be on that or on continuing on such acts as the unfortunate one that what happened to Collins Khosa. Third one, and I think a low point of today's briefings.
Thank you very much. Vuyo Mvoko, our political editor there, just wrapping up the day's briefing.